CSIS 2470 is filmed before a live studio audience.
Hey everybody, welcome to air quotes class. It's great to air quotes see you all. So today we're taking things to the next level, but at first here's your daily reminder that why we care about JavaScript is because it gives a better front-end user experience. And the partner of that JavaScript front-end user experience is, of course, CSS. And we're going to be learning about a new property, well, not new to the world of JavaScript, but new to us, the style property. Before we get there, though, let's look at the few ways that we have manipulated CSS with JavaScript. So to do that, of course, we must go to the code. I have a simple project set up here. We have one div, and then I have on the body the onClick property attribute that's going to call the change stuff function when you click anywhere in the body. All right, and then you will see here I've started the function, but we haven't done anything with it. We've got a little bit of CSS going already, and we're going to apply the dark or the round or both to the div. Let's look at what it looks like in our browser right now, and when we refresh it, that's what we get. So let's see how this all comes together. We have this round class here that's going to give it a border radius of 50%, which will make it look like a circle. And then we have this dark class, which will change the background color. Well, in the past, what we've done, I've selected the div here using our query selector, and we would do something like div class name equals, and we could say round, right? So that will make it round. When I refresh it here, if I click on the body, it turns round. Well, what if I wanted to add a second class? Now, we talked about this in the previous classroom air quotes lecture, right? We talked about this. If I wanted to add a second class, this dark one here, well, I can't really do that because dark's just going to overwrite the round. So if I refresh and I click this, it's just going to turn it dark, but it won't make it round. So we talked about this idea of using the class list add function here. So we have class list dot add, and we would add round, and I could do that a second time, add dark. So now it will add, I need to capitalize that L there, sorry, just notice that. So this will add round and dark to it. So if I refresh, let's open up the console first so we can watch this happen in real time. Not the console, but this part right here. And watch right here, it's got dark on there because we haven't refreshed it yet, but when I refresh it, that'll go away. So there's no class on the div, and it's back to this red color. The moment I click it, it's going to turn around and black, and the classes will both be added right there. So if I click, there we go, round and dark, right? And you can see that it is round and dark. If I want to remove those, we can remove them. So one thing that we can play around with is this idea. How do I check to see if round or dark has been applied, right? Well, there's another thing we haven't looked at yet, which is called contains. So I can do something like this. I can say if div.classList.contains round, then I want to remove round, right? So I can just copy that up there and remove round, and then I can do an else statement here, else we add it, right? And I'm actually going to kill the curly braces on this just because I'm that kind of a coder. So we get that, and we get that. All right, I'm going to get rid of the dark one for just a minute and take a look at this now. If div class list contains round, then we're going to remove it. And if it doesn't, then we're going to add it. So this will give us the ability to sort of toggle back and forth. So refresh, and when I click it, it goes round. When I click it again, it goes back to square. It's checking to see if it contains that, right? We could do the exact same thing with dark, right? However, there's actually a better way than doing that. But it's good to know about contains because sometimes you just want to look for a class name. But there's actually one called toggle. So let's clean all this up here. We'll go div.classlist.toggle. And that's it. Just one line of code. No need for fancy if statements or anything like that. Refresh, and it'll just see if it's there and add it if it's not, and vice versa. So if I just keep going back and forth here, you'll see that it keeps doing that. We can do that with the dark toggle or roggle, whatever, right? So toggle round and dark. So now when I refresh it, it goes back and forth between a black round ball and a red square, back and forth like that. That's how we've done it in the past. There's one other one you should be aware of, but it's quirky, and that is with the class list add, you can actually add multiple classes at the same time by just doing this. We'll do, what was it, dark, right? That's also valid. So watch when I refresh here, when I click this, it will add them in. The problem though is you can't toggle that, right? I can't toggle two things like that. Refresh it and I click it and only one of them seems to work, right? Which I'm assuming it's the first one. So if you want to toggle, you can only do one at a time. But if you want to just add a bunch of classes, you can totally do that by doing add like that. You can also remove the classes the exact same way. So real quick, if we happen to have round and dark here and I wanted to remove them, I can just do that like so. And so we refresh it and it starts off round and dark, but when I click, it removes them both. Okay. Basically, everything I just showed you is right in the same family as what we've been doing in the past few classes. But now let's move on to the new exciting stuff. You ready? First, let's reverse this. And second, let's clear this. And there is a new property that's new to us called style. And the way this works, we would target our element, so div, and remember it's called div because that's what I named it here, and this is grabbing it out of the HTML document. So div.style, and then the next thing you put there is any CSS property you can think of, you can put it right there. Now it may be a slightly different format. For example, if I want to change the background color of the div, I use background-color. JavaScript doesn't like that kind of syntax. So it has background color. So JavaScript uses camel case, right? And so I don't even need to have a class added to it. I can just change it to, we'll change it to navy, let's say, for example. So div.style.background color equals navy. So now when I refresh it, right now it's red. When I click though, it's going to change it to navy. And you see what it did here? It just made inline style right there. Style equals background-color navy. It's just inline style. So you're just injecting a whole bunch of inline style into your tag. That's it. It's that simple. We're going to look at a couple of examples of some things you can do here. And then in the next lecture, we're going to go into a bunch more of the properties that are available to us and how to use them. And we'll just code up a simple example. For now, I just wanted to introduce you to the idea. So today is a simple, small lecture, all right? So let's look at a couple more though. Border radius. If I wanted to make it round, we did before, div.style.border radius, right? It wouldn't be border dash radius, it would be border radius. And I can just put right here 5 pixels. Now, all of these values are a string. Even the ones that are numbers, they're still strings. So this is how we have to store it. So again, refresh it, I click it, and you can see a teeny little 5 pixel border radius. But we want to make it a circle, right? Which is 50%. So we do 50%. Refresh. When I click, it's going to turn blue and be round. And you can see that it added border radius 50% right there in the inline style. All right, we're going to modify our CSS just a little bit here. We're going to put a section right here that this will be inside of. And that section, we're going to target that in our CSS to put a border on it so we can see it. So section, 5 pixels, solid red, just so we can see it. The reason this looks a little weird here is because that red border is the section, and then the div itself is taking up the full inside of the section, right? So it's cramming it up against there. So in other words, when it goes around, you can better see the actual section there. Okay, but this is good for what we're about to do here. Let's put a teeny bit of padding on it. So padding, 5 pixels, just so we have a little bit of breathing room there, okay? Okay, the last thing I want to do, right now I have body set to flex. I'm going to turn that off for just a minute and close this out. And I'm going to shrink that section up a little bit and just center it. So we'll go width is about 800 pixels, margin 0, auto, and refresh. Okay. And I'm not going to bother centering the div inside of there for what we're about to do. It won't matter. What I want to do is affect the margin of the actual section. Right now, the top and bottom margin is 0 of that section, right? So in here, let's get another object. We'll call it section, and we'll go section. So now I have the section here, and I can set the style, and I want to change the margin. What do you suppose I would do to change the margin? It's margin, right? Good guess, right? I'm going to do 50 pixels. So now if we go and refresh it, we're going to see something change a little bit. We're going to lose the centering because the 50 pixels is going to overwrite what we had there, which was 0 auto. And so it's going to scooch over and down. It's going to be 50 pixels away from the top and the bottom. So I refresh and then I click And there we go. You can see that when I clicked, it changed the ball inside of there and it scooched it over. Now we can keep the auto here. I can just put here so that the margin is 50 pixels auto. And we go back, let's refresh. And then when I click it, it's just going to move down 50 pixels, right? Also, if we wanted to style just a specific margin, margin top, we just want to make the margin top 50 pixels. And remember, what do we have on our CSS? Right now, the section's margin is 0 in auto. Well, we're going to change it now. Basically, we're going to do the equivalent of doing margin top is 50 pixels, right? Except we're going to do it inline by using JavaScript. So we come back over here and it's going to do margin top. So we refresh and you see how it's all the way at the top. When I click the page, it moved it down. So the big picture here, simple. Any property you can think of in CSS, there is a JavaScript equivalent. And so what I'm going to do real quick is show you all of the CSS properties, right? It's a great website which you can get to in the resources section of this module and this lecture. This is the CSS Almanac, or CSS-Tricks Almanac. This site's run by Chris Coyier. He's one of my favorite tech influencers, if you will. He's a thought leader in the industry. He's got a really cool podcast I follow called Shop Talk Show. But on the right here is all of the CSS properties, and there are a ton. And if you click on any one of them, it will take you to all of the possible values. I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to scroll and show you how huge this list really is. Look at all these. Look, that's just B right there. Here's the ones that start with C. E is very lonely. These are all properties that you can use in your CSS, right? Nothing to do with JavaScript here. This is just CSS. Every one of these. And if you're wondering what's scrolling by on the left there, these are all selectors. There's a bunch of those too. But look at how many properties we have. There's margin. That's one we know, right? N, totally lonely there. Bunch of O's, P's, Q's are pretty lonely. Lots of S's. This list is humongous. So the next page I want to show you is also linked to in the lecture notes and in the resource section of the module. And this is what we'll be spending more time on next lecture, which is the JavaScript style object. I may have been referring to this as the style property. I meant to be saying object this whole time. Sorry about that. But you can see all of these different things. Here's a bunch of animation ones. We haven't got into any of that. You were introduced to it in 1430, hopefully. But all kinds of stuff. There's background color that's highlighted right there, background image. And you'll see none of these are hyphenated, right? Border color. In CSS, we do border dash color. And here, it's border color, camel case. But you can see, look at how many of these there are, and they are alphabetically ordered. So you can see this list is just as long as that CSS tricks list with all these different properties. Now, there may be a handful that are not available, but I'm not aware of any. And so we'll be diving into more of these next time. That's it for today. I know it's a lot shorter than what you're probably used to. I'm trying to give you a little bit of a break because the last few were kind of long. So thanks for, air quotes, coming to class. And as a friendly reminder, those 5 points on the screen there, if you know the answer to those questions, you are ready to take the quiz and you learned what you needed to learn from this lecture. We'll see you next time, folks.